Again, it's Super Count Dooku, and I'm just kind of thinking about what I want to say about how Canada's government works, because it is interesting amongst Westminster parliamentary systems, in that, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to outsiders, and it probably doesn't, and actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to Canadians either, but it's worked for 157 years, and actually nearly 160 years at this point. As of next year, next year will be 160 years. But it makes sense. So everyone knows, I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of the fact in the world that Mark Carney is the Prime Minister of Canada. He is the face of Canada on the global stage. So you would think that he is the one who is the head of state of Canada. But that is not Mark Carney. The head of state of Canada is not the Prime Minister. And you would be asking, who is the head of state of Canada? And the answer is not obvious. The head of state of Canada is King Charles III, an elderly man who lives on the other side of the Atlantic in a fancy castle. And so he's the head of state of Canada. And when he's not in Canada, and let's face it, he's quite busy, being the head of state of 12 other realms around the world, he barely has time for Canada. So whenever he doesn't have time for Canada, which is all the time, he sends over a representative to govern in his name, and that is known as the Governor General. And currently our Governor General is Lady Mary Simmons, who is an indigenous person, kind of an indigenous chief in Canada, who was appointed by the King to serve as the Governor General of Canada while he is not in Canada. Anyways, so Mary Simmons is the Governor General. She operates all the powers of royalty. Laws do not get passed, bills do not get signed, we do not even go to war unless she signs it. I promise we're a democracy. I know it doesn't sound like that right now, but I promise we are a democracy. And so, let's get to the democratic bit. So we have the royal family. We have the royals being royals, but we are a constitutional monarchy, so they are constrained by their power. All laws flow from them, but not the purse strings, because the power of purse belongs to one body in Canada, and that is Parliament. And so every few years we hold an election whenever we feel like it. Sometimes they'll even trigger elections themselves, and we get to vote on it. We'll send 343 brave representatives in 343 ridings. We'll send them to Parliament Hill, to Ottawa, and they will organize government and tell us who's in charge. Basically, in Canada, we do have parties, but it's not a bipartisan system like it is in the States, where you kind of tick a box, R for Republican or D for Democrat. No, you put your tick next to a name. We vote for people in this country, not parties, which means that we also have more than one party. Technically, if I wanted to, and I got 200 people to say, yes, I believe you could be an MP, I could go to Elections Canada and say, I have 200 signatures in my riding saying that I can run for office, and I would have an equal chance of winning that seat as any other candidate. Minus funding, obviously, but I would have an equal chance otherwise. And there have been independents sitting in Canada as well before. Our most recent independent candidate was in Victoria. I forget her name. She lost her seat in 2021 to a Liberal candidate. But I forget the name. I don't remember. But we have five parties in Canada. We have the Liberals, who are currently forming the government. We have the Liberals. They are led by Mark Carney. And then we have the Conservatives, led by Pierre Poilievre. And I'm not going to get too much into what I think about Pierre Poilievre, because that's a whole other video right there. So we have the Liberals currently have 174 out of 343 seats. That means that they have a majority government because they have more than the required 172 seats. They got this majority by asking 5 other MPs to join their party over the last year, which is a perfectly legitimate thing you can do in Parliament. Not only is it legitimate, it's lawful. It's expected that they try to do this. And anyone who claims otherwise is lying to you. So we have the Liberals, we have the Conservatives. The Liberals have 174 seats. The Conservatives have 139, I believe, give or take. They lost a bunch of members recently, but I believe it's about 140, give or take a seat or two. Then we have the Bloc, who holds 22 seats, and they are our 3 major parties in Parliament, but we have 2 others. We also have the New Democrat Party, who have 6 members. They also recently lost someone to the Liberals because one of their MPs decided they wanted to be a Liberal instead. And then we also have the Green Party, which has exactly 1 member of Parliament, and that would be Elizabeth May, who has been a Green member for 20 years, and we haven't figured out why she's still a member of the Green. Why we haven't figured out why she still gets elected every time, but she does, and the people of Squamish, BC, love her, and so she remains leader of the Green Party. And every time she tries to pass it off to someone else, they fuck up, and she ends up being dragged back into party leadership. It's actually quite hilarious. But that's our parliamentary system. So we send people to Parliament. And it's important to note, the Prime Minister is a member of Parliament. He is not like the President of the United States, where he holds no role in where the executive branch and the legislative branch are separate. No, they are the same thing in Canada. We have the executive branch, which is led by the Prime Minister, and we have the legislative branch, which is led by the Liberal government. And the Prime Minister, in his other job, is the leader of the Liberals. And in his other job, he also represents the people of Nipigon. Or no, not Nipigon, Nepean. He represents Ottawa Nepean. And so every 4 years, he has to go to his voters in Ottawa Nepean and say, will you vote for me again? And they have to say either aye or nay. And it creates some really funny, awkward situations when leaders of parties become the Prime Minister, but lose their seat. It happened once before, in 1896, where the leader of the Conservative Party won his seat, and then, but lost his own, he lost the election, lost his seat, tried to stay on as Prime Minister, and was told no, basically, by the Governor General. Anyway, so we have our Crown, which kind of oversees that. We have the legislative executive branch as one of our key branches, and then the other part of that is which we inherit from the Westminster system, is our Senate, which is our equivalent of a House of Lords. Basically, they are unelected people who get appointed by the Prime Minister to basically review laws and to make changes to them. Absolutely no accountability happens, and every attempt at reforming the Senate has failed. We don't quite know what to do with it, but it's technically a part of our system, and we can't write it out because that would require a constitutional amendment, and no one has the appetite for that. So it's kind of this weird, not electable body, but also not relevant body. Most things go through Parliament. They get looked at by the House of Lords. They go to once the House of Lords approves them, they go to the Governor General, and if the Governor General approves of it, it becomes law. And there are times where the Governor General might say, this is illegal, and so I will not sign it, and therefore it does not become law. There have been a couple of instances. The last instance of this was in 1896 when John Baker tried to stay on as Prime Minister and was denied. by the Governor General. Historically, the Governor General has been a appointee by the king, who usually would send a noble from Britain over to Canada to basically be the Governor General. But since the 40s, the Governor General has always been a Canadian who has been kind of basically recommended to the king to become Governor General. And so this creates a very interesting political situation where, does the Governor General appoint the Prime Minister, or does the Prime Minister appoint the Governor General? And that is a constitution question that we do not yet have an answer to, because we have kind of kicked that bucket down the hill. Other Westminster parliamentary systems have done it. New Zealand, actually, for example, has actually deliberately stated that despite the fact that they are also a Westminster system, they have deliberately outlined what the powers of the Governor General are in New Zealand. In Canada, it's a bit murkier, because one of the big thing that the Prime Minister, that the Governor General can do, that is given to him by the Constitution, is that the Governor General can dissolve Parliament and call for a new election. If Mary Simmons thinks that Parliament is not working and that they are in parliamentary deadlock, she can go to the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition and say, you're all fired, you're going back to the polls. And that is a constitutional protected thing. Or she can go behind door number 2. And if she thinks that the Prime Minister does not have the confidence of Parliament, that is 172 members of Parliament standing up on budget day and saying, we support this government, in a confidence motion. If she does not think that is going to happen, she can go to one of the leaders of the opposition and say, do you have the confidence of Parliament? And if one of them has the confidence of 172 members of Parliament, she can ask them to become the Prime Minister without calling an election. Although in Canada, we are constitutionally required to have an election every 5 years. We typically hold it every 4 years, but constitutionally, we are required to have an election. Like that, we don't set hard dates for our elections, unlike in the United States, where it's the first Tuesday of every 4th November. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. But basically, 5 years after the last election, we have to have another one. We can call an election early if we want. It's been done many times where we just call an election because it looks favorable for whoever calls the election. We've had governments where the government has lost confidence, and so a new election gets triggered. And I believe that's the only instance where the Prime Minister, where the opposition leader of the opposition has been asked to become the Prime Minister without calling a new election, was in probably 1896, with John Baker refusing to resign as resign it. No, it was John Turner, not Baker. John Turner refused to basically resign as Prime Minister. Anyways, that's no, John Turner was in the 80s. No, it was another John. I don't remember his name. John someone. Anyways, that's a bit about Canadian politics. Again, I'm not divvying up on what I think about each party, because I do have opinions on each party and its leader, positives and negatives. But that's Canadian Parliament. It works. It's a democratic system. It's a stable system, despite what it sounds like, because we always know who's in charge. And if the Prime Minister suddenly dies, the next day the Governor General chooses a new Prime Minister. Like, so yeah, that's how that works. I guess goodbye. I'm entering Sudbury now, so cheers.